Welcome, everybody, to the Dynasty 3. He is Tyler Heil. Our Dynasty Deviant, Chris Burns, is on a well-deserved vacation. But, guys, don't worry. We have got a very special treat for you. Our very own Billy Mustafa is back in the house. He's going to be helping us wrap up our Rookie Hype series. Guys, we have got the AFC, NFC North up on deck tonight. Let's do it. What's up, everybody? Bill, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Nice to be back.
It is nice to have you back. Tyler, what's up? How's your week been?
Pretty good. I'm excited to have Bill back, and I'm always excited to talk about the Browns and, just kind of subtly hate on them.
Not too many people can say that they're excited to talk about the Browns. So I can't wait to get into our teams tonight. Quite a few of my favorites are going to be on the list. But guys, remember, make sure to drop your comments and questions over in the chat. We're going to be here all night, so throw them on in there, and we will get to them as we see them. So some breaking news that happened over the weekend, guys. Trey Lance finally gets a new start in Dallas. Bill, how you feel about that?
I'm happy for him. I have to admit, I was a big Trey Lance fan coming out, and it just wasn't working in San Francisco. I don't think he's the type of quarterback that's going to be able to run the offense that Kyle Shanahan wants. It felt like a strange fit when they made the pick. And I think now we can go and back up a guy like Dak Prescott. It's going to be good for him. It's a similar type quarterback. I think that's like a ceiling for Trey Lance. If he can evolve and become a Dak Prescott type passer, then I think he's probably done well considering what's happened to him the last few years. So I'm happy for him. I'm a little bit gutted. Apparently the Bills were looking at bringing him in as Josh's backup, but there was no way we were giving a fourth because we're tight. So I think Cowboys is a good spot for him, and I'm excited for him. I'm excited for Trey Lance.
Yeah, nice to see him get a chance to kind of start over. Tyler, Josh Jacobs finally gets a deal with the Raiders. Are you crying over all your Zamir White shares now? Do you have any?
I might have like one somewhere. I think he's still sitting on a taxi squad of a roster I haven't updated. No, I'm happy he's back. You kind of knew this was going to happen when you're a guy like Josh Jacobs. Like, I want to do camp, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to go do these 2-a-day practices. Like, we knew he was always going to come back. I'm glad he got a $12 million deal. I still don't quite understand why they don't want to sign the franchise tag. That doesn't really make any sense to me when they can only sign a 1-year contract, because when you sign the franchise tag, then if you get tagged again, it increases that value of that contract. So I'm a little confused why Josh Jacobs and Saquon did what they did. But, they have agents that know a whole lot more about this stuff than I do. But football-wise, I'm happy he's back. I would say that the Raiders are at least going to be interesting this year, so he should be able to produce.
Yeah. So this was not on the show sheet, but Jonathan Taylor finally gets sorted out. It's not getting traded. Bill, let's start with you first. What do you think about this?
It's not looking good, bruv. It's not looking good.
No.
He's going to be on the pup he's going to miss the first 4 weeks. Chris Ballard come out and said, this isn't a great situation. Last season he was injured. He didn't perform. From a fantasy perspective, a lot of people got burnt. Paying big trade prices for Jonathan Taylor or drafting him high. I don't know why running backs don't look at the Lev Bell situation a few years ago and just go, look, if I can play for a team on good money that are going to give me the opportunity to be a primary focus of the offense. Like, I know it sounds crappy because they're players and they want to get paid, but sometimes that's as good as it's going to get. Mm-hmm. And it quite clearly proves JT was, the consensus 101 of skill players in fantasy drafts, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Maybe even beginning the last season.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's just fallen completely off a cliff. Just the running back position, just, I don't know, be safeties or something if you want to get paid. This running backs don't get paid. Just
Yeah.
you're everyone's favorite college player, and you go to the NFL, you run out your rookie contract, and then you get burned. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know it's not going to change, and it's just unfortunate because we all love seeing JT run for 4 or 5 touchdowns against the Bills. He deserves it, actually. Thinking about it, do you know what? He deserves to be on the pup and not get traded. I forgot what he did to us, bastard.
Oh my gosh, Tyler, is there a running back in Indy that you're taking now to at least to fill in for the first few weeks?
I think you got to go Deion Jackson.
Yeah.
I mean, he's only been in the league for a couple of years. He was actually pretty good in college, so I felt pretty good about him. And who else do you have? Zach Moss?
Evan Hall? Evan Hall?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, you have Anthony Richardson. That's probably another situation like Chicago where there's only going to be one fantasy relevant running back, and I think it's going to be Deion Jackson.
Yeah. I think you're right. He was definitely going before the last few rounds in some drafts that I did this weekend. So he's on everybody's little sleeper list. Bill, you're back. I want to hear some updates on some of your guys from earlier this year, some of your favorite rookies. Let's start off with Izzy Abanikanda. What's been going on with him? How hurt?
My man.
Yeah.
My
How
man.
are you just devastated?
No, do you know what? When he got drafted by the Jets, I kind of sort of put the brakes on a little bit and was like, oh, this isn't great. But looking at his preseason performance, altogether 25 carries, 113 yards and a touchdown. He got better, he got more explosive and more efficient as games went on. Week 2 of the preseason against Tampa, I think he went for 7.5 yards a clip. What I was more impressed with Izzy is, he was targeted 5 times in the passing game in the preseason. He caught all 5 for 37 yards. That was something that we didn't see him do at Pitt. And, I remember on the show before the draft, we questioned if it was something that he had in his arsenal. It quite clearly is. Another impressive stat in three preseason games, he forced 6 missed tackles. And bear in mind, he's still 20 years of age. So Abanikanda, now they've signed Dalvin Cook and they've obviously got Breece Hall. Mm-hmm. My plan, and what I would suggest other people do, is wait for the Jets to start the season. He's not going to dress for some games. Send a cheeky little 4th rounder. Send a cheeky little late, what you think is going to be a late 3rd. Stash him on your waiver. He's still 20 years old. Bags of talent. So I'm still high on Izzy. I wish he was a Bill. He's not. He's a Jet, unfortunately. But yeah, still really high on the talent.
And they cut Bam Knight.
You've got to be excited.
Yeah.
Exactly what I was going to say. They cut Bam Knight. They cut Ty Johnson. So he made the team over some guys that actually produced for them last year. Mm-hmm. So that's good news for him.
By the end of the season, I think he'll be RB3. He'll jump Michael Carter, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that'll take much.
I'm kind of surprised they still got Michael Carter, actually.
Michael Carter is so disappointing. I was so high on him coming out of North Carolina, and he's just not performed.
No.
I thought it would be him instead of Bam Knight, actually, who is going to get cut, but not to be. Okay, Sam Laporta. So, Bill, while you've been gone, I just took up the reins of the Sam Laporta bandwagon for you.
Thank you.
And I've just driven it all the way to almost football season. Tell us about Sam Laporta.
Okay, well, I mean, you can have the bandwagon now. Dalton Kincaid's obviously a Buffalo Bill. I've had to jump off that Sam Laporta bandwagon, and jump on the back of the Dalton Kincaid one that everybody else is on. But look, I still like Sam Laporta. He's not shown, anything during the preseason really, but the camp reports are good. I just have a little bit of a worry. Is he going to be like TJ Hawkinson was in Detroit? That boom or bust. You're going to get 16 points. You're going to get 20 points, or you're going to get 4. At the end of the day, we can like a player as much as you like. We play this game for fantasy points, and I like Laporta. I just think he could be a bit boom or bust. But yeah, still love the talent. I think he's obviously the tight end one in Detroit. It's just going to be interesting to see how he's used and how much consistent usage he gets week in, week out.
Well, I have some questions for you about Sam Laporta, but I'm going to save them for when we talk about him a little bit later. All right. Michael Wilson from Arizona. He was one of the last guys that we talked about in our wide receiver groups.
The Cards are going 0-17. Like, just wait for someone to drop him when they get frustrated because he's not getting on the field or can't catch a pass from Caleb Toon or Josh Dobbs or whoever that's
Clayton Toon, get it right.
I don't even know his name, man. No one knows his name.
Tune up.
Like, they all suck. Have you seen how many people they claimed on waivers? They claimed like 6-7 players on waivers. That's how much their team sucks. That's how you know the coaches are looking around going, holy shit, this is bad. It's just not good. Like, I'm not interested in any Arizona Cardinals. Just no.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair. We see Gator over there in the chat. Glad to see that you are safe from this hurricane that just went through, and that you're hanging out with us there tonight. All right, last but not least, Mr. Jaden Reed. That was one of your favorites.
Well, and still is. 4 catches, 56 yards, and a touchdown in preseason. He's going to be the starting slot in Green Bay. That's his position. And I think he quite easily cements himself as a wide receiver too. I think he'll get more targets, more catches, more fancy points than Romeo does. It's, Christian Watson's obviously going to be the wide receiver one and the guy that gets the looks in the red zone. But I'm holding on to Jaden Reed. I got a lot of Jaden Reed. I got him late in drafts, and I'm not trading him unless someone offers me a future first, because I think big things are coming from Jaden Reed. I'm excited. Love the landing spot. Love the talent coming out, and I'm excited for Jaden Reed.
We are going to show a clip of his very first Lambeau leap ever coming up here in a little bit. But first, we are going to get on the AFC North. Guys, this is our last group of rookies, AFC and NFC North, to talk about. So, Tyler, your beloved Cleveland, I can't talk tonight, Cleveland Browns. Talk to us about Cedric Tillman and DTR.
All right, let's start with Cedric Tillman. There hasn't been a whole lot about him through camp. He's been on the field a lot. He's caught 7 balls in the preseason for over 100 yards, so that's promising. You like to see a history of production, whether it be in the preseason or not. You just want him to be involved. The gist of what I'm getting from Cedric Tillman is he's just always been the automatic wide receiver 4 on this team. I actually think there could be a buy low opportunity for Cedric Tillman later this year. I don't think he's going to be very heavily involved in the Browns offense. He's not unseating Donovan Peoples-Jones, who was actually really good last year. Elijah Moore, they traded for him, a second rounder for him for a reason. And I mean, Amari Cooper is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. And quite frankly, Cedric Tillman plays the same position as Amari Cooper. He's not the deep threat that Donovan Peoples-Jones is, and he's not the crafty slot guy that Elijah Moore is. So there's not going to be a whole lot of opportunity for Cedric Tillman this year, but I still believe in him. I think he's a really solid player, and you can likely get him at a discount later this season when he's not getting on the field. And next we have Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I have not been this excited for a backup quarterback in a while. Hell, I haven't been this excited for a Browns starting quarterback in a while. He's been an absolute stud in camp. He's been a stud in the preseason games. The quote that I actually have from Zach Jackson of The Athletic is he's the Browns beat writer for The Athletic. The rookie has conducted himself like a 6-year pro in the preseason, and he's impressed the Browns with his poise and willingness to compete since he arrived in May. He may or may not someday get back to Canton. I think that's tongue in cheek, but he's on a nice track with a team looking for a long-term backup. So that has to make you feel pretty good about his prospects. I think if you are a Deshaun Watson manager, this might be a very high priority buy for you. I don't see someone might hold on to him for more than a third, but a third and a fourth should get him. He's not going to play. He's not playing over Deshaun Watson, but he could be a nice little handcuff. He made the Browns feel comfortable enough to jettison Josh Dobbs to the Cardinals, who Dobbs looked like a very capable backup last year, and he relegated Kellen Mond to the practice squad. So rookie coming out of UCLA, you have to feel good just about what the Browns have shown with him and actually some of the connection he's had with Cedric Tillman. So I'm excited for Dorian Thompson-Robinson. If you're a Deshaun Watson manager, grab him if you can. If not, I would say throw that man on your taxi and let's see what happens with Deshaun.
Hey, so who is he throwing to in this clip here? This is from the Chiefs game, I think, right?
That is number 89, Cedric Tillman.
Njoku? Oh, that's Tillman?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize Tillman was that big. Holy cow. I thought that was like
big
David
boy.
Njoku or something.
Cedric Tillman's 6'3".
Oh, my
big
God.
boy.
Yeah.
That's a nice pass. Look at that. Ooh, that's fun.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I love it.
All right. Well, so speaking of giant players, let's go to my favorite monster. That would be one Mr. Darnell Washington. You guys know how much I love Darnell. Unfortunately, we don't get fantasy points for blocks, which is kind of what I think Darnell is going to be doing. Because if we did, he'd be number one overall. But I did see an interview from Mike Tomlin where he said that Darnell's been better in the passing game than they could have ever anticipated. So that makes me feel really good. He also said that he saw that Darnell had a personalized license plate that said 6th offensive lineman. And if you see this clip right here, you can see him absolutely just like pancaking people. He's number 80. If you're looking there, you see him on the ground. Like it's just absolutely just. I couldn't find any pictures of him actually catching a ball, which is unfortunate. But to get to my point across is this is what I think he's going to be doing for the majority of at least his first year with the Steelers is just absolutely just demolishing people's souls. Guys, so not like I said, not too much work other than the blocking. He's had 4 targets in 3 games for a total of, wait for it, 14 yards. Oh, not great. But 2, Bill, and I'm sorry to say this, but 2 of his targets were in the Bills game. Yeah, I see that. 2 were in the end zone, which resulted in a PI call that got a touchdown, but for somebody else, not Darnell. Trubisky also said that the plan is to kind of get him some targets in the end zone because of how big of a target he is. And, it's just really difficult to cover him. So if you drafted him, you're really hoping the Steelers are going to scheme up some ways to get him in the end zone as much as possible, because that's really going to be where his fantasy value is in the end zone. It's not going to be really getting any yardage for you, anything like that. You're just going to have to hope for a few touchdowns here and there. If you're a best ball player, it might be a better place to take him there instead of hoping, and praying when you put him in your lineup that he's going to score. But still, big Darnell Washington fan over here. Maybe not so much in fantasy this year.
It's unfortunate
Bill,
that he's paired with Freiermuth.
Oh, is that one?
Yeah. Yeah. It really is. I don't think he's going to take anything away from Freiermuth, really. He's kind of established in that role as their definite starting tight end, but he'll be a fun player to watch for sure. There was and I didn't put it on there because there's, we've got other things to get to tonight, but there's a really great TikTok that the Steelers social media group put out, where it's like very menacing. They're all like walking down this like smoky hallway. And then you've got like Darnell in the background, and obviously he's like the biggest player of all of them. He's just like lurking like a monster back there. Like it's really cool. Go look it up on TikTok. It's the Steelers TikTok page. Bill, Baltimore Ravens, Zay Flowers. Let's hear it.
So, I mean, people that have listened to the show regularly, they know that we love Zay Flowers. His ability to make people miss in the open field was what we were so excited about. And on that one drive against Washington, he showed that skill set is going to translate to the NFL level. And this is his touchdown on his second reception. Mm-hmm. It's his first reception that impresses me more. He's opposite Emmanuel Forbes, who's been getting rave review, first round pick, went ahead of Zay Flowers in the draft of Washington, getting a lot of good positive reviews from training camp Emmanuel Forbes. And Zay Flowers just absolutely gives him the business. His first catch in the preseason, and then goes on to finish the drive with a touchdown. The one thing that we all said when he went to the Ravens, we all loved Zay Flowers and his ability to make plays. I think I compared him to Antonio Brown minus the CTE. When he went to the Ravens, we all went, "Oh, come on, really?" But if you look at how the Ravens have been playing in preseason, last year the Ravens were in 11 personnel less than 10% of the time. So far in the preseason, they've been 11 personnel 64% of the time, and that is without OBJ or Rashad Bateman on the field. So that goes to show you that this Todd Monken offense is changing. This is not the same old Ravens. When they've been in 11 personnel preseason, that's 64% of the time. They've thrown the ball 75% of the time. So not only are they in 11 personnel, they're throwing the ball from 11 personnel. For me, going out and spending on OBJ, going out and spending a first round pick on Zay Flowers, I'm not so worried about the landing spot anymore. I think that the talent is, well, I mean, the proof's in the pudding. The talent has changed that Baltimore Raven mindset of defense run the ball, defense run the ball. That they're prepared to put these playmakers on the field. And I think Zay Flowers for me I think he's going to be the wide receiver one in Baltimore by the end of the year. I think he's going to prove straight away he's better than Rashad Bateman. OBJ 30, he's the surgeon's best mate. Like end of the year, it's going to be Zay Flowers. I missed out on a lot of Zay Flowers because of the landing spot initially in drafts. I'm kicking myself for it now because he was available at the back end of the first round. And I've tried to pick him up. People are they want first and second round picks. They want 2 first round picks. I feel like I've missed the boat. But if I can get my hands on him for a first round pick, I'm making that move before the season starts. I'm a big fan of Zay Flowers, and I don't think anything we've seen this off season has done anything to change that. If anything, it's just proved why we liked him so much.
Nice. Well, I would like you to also keep talking about the Cincinnati Bengals.
Okay. I mean, I don't like to talk about them after what they did to us in the preseason, in the postseason last year, Stacey, but I will do.
They're not as exciting as Zay Flowers, but they're
okay,
not bad. They're not bad.
Let's talk about Charlie Jones. I remember you really liked Charlie Jones in the pre-draft process, and he's not shown too much in preseason. He's caught 9 of 16 targets for 79 yards. He's worked in the slot primarily, and I think that's a really interesting caveat when it comes to Charlie Jones. I expect him to be a special teams player primarily this year, but Tyler Boyd is in a contract year. He turns 30. I don't expect him to be brought back to Cincinnati, considering they've got to pay T. Higgins, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. Charlie Jones could be a real cheap stash this year. Pick him up for a fourth or even possibly off the waiver wire. Stash him. He could be. I'm not saying he will be. So if someone can come and shout at me next year, he could be the starting slot receiver in Cincinnati next year. When you've got Joe Burrow and that kind of offense, if you can pick up a guy that's going to be starting, one of the top 3 wide receiving options in that offense for a 4th round pick off the waiver wire, I think that's worth stashing in your taxi. So not so much for Charlie Jones this year, but I think he could be a sneaky little stash. And then the other wide receiver they drafted, I can't pronounce that name. I'm just going to call him the Romanian Rocket. If it's good enough for Jamar Chase to call him it, I'm going to call him it. He was a guy I wasn't so hot on in the pre-draft process. I remember we covered him briefly. And he just seemed like a bit of a one-trick pony. I was surprised that he stayed on with the Bengals as long as he did. But when you look at what he did during the preseason, 12 catches, 129 yards and a touchdown. That line's pretty good. What was really interesting to me is that through 3 games, the man had 26 targets. That's over 8.5 targets per game average. Now, being targeted with a football is a skill in itself. To make yourself an option for the quarterback, regardless of who that quarterback is and regardless of who you're going up against. For a guy as raw as Yoshivas, did I say that right, Stace?
Yes, Andre Yoshivas.
I'm not going to say it again. For a guy as raw as that, to be commanding targets like that in an offense is exciting for me. So he's a guy that I've kind of done a little bit of a 180 on, and I'm trying to pick him up at where I can now. If he's on the waiver wires, I'm trying to pick him up and stash him. My ploy to get him is to try and add him in as a little swap. My tight end's a little bit better than your tight end. Just throw me that rookie in Cincinnati, and we'll call it evens. I think people are a little bit wise onto I'll give you my 4th round pick in 2026 for this random rookie. They kind of start to do their research after that. So you've got to be a little bit sneaky now. But yeah, he's a guy that I didn't expect much of, but those 26 targets through 3 games really sort of made me open my eyes and take a look. And, with that deep speed that he's got, he could be a guy that the Bengals stash for the future. So They look like they've drafted a couple of potential starters down the road there in Cincinnati.
Well, I think you made a really good point too with everybody's going to have to get paid next year, right? So why not kind of hang on to the two rookies that are really cheap? You don't have to pay them. You've already paid them, So, maybe they're going to be some role players next year.
Makes sense.
Yeah. All right, so that's going to wrap up the AFC North. So moving on over to the NFC North, we're going to start with the Minnesota Vikings. Mr. Heil, tell me about, really only one of them because Dwayne McBride got waived.
Yes, I actually feel a bit vindicated on Dwayne McBride. I know Bill and I agreed on that going into the draft that he's a bigger guy. He's almost 6'2", he's 220. He was fast, but he was an upright runner. He did not have a lot of lateral agility, and his vision was honestly crap. So, he got waived. They signed him to the practice squad, so he's still around. But just for reference, let me tell you some names: Alexander Madison, Kene Nwangwu, Ty Chandler, and Myles Gaskin, who was just picked up off the Dolphins' trash heap, made the roster over Dwayne McBride. Anyway, on to the positive part. Jordan Addison. This guy was my wide receiver 1 pre-draft for a reason. He's awesome. He can get open anywhere on the field. And apparently he can moss people, like in this clip where he's running a fade route and he just jumps up and snags the ball out of the air right by the pylon.
That's one about must be my height.
Cool.
Oh, I love it. You just watch it over and over again.
Yeah.
He's been really impressive at camp. The Vikings are raving about him. One of the small things, but it was really a big thing. He's always aligned correctly. They actually noticed that in camp. Like, you never have to tell this man where to be. He already knows. So he's got his head in the game. It's not too fast for him. His head's not spinning. I think he might have some limited snaps this year, slightly. They don't take me as saying he's going to lose work, but I think in 2 wide receiver sets, it seems KJ Osborne's going to be the guy because he's a much better run blocker than tiny Jordan Addison, which makes sense. The Vikings are going to try to run the ball a whole lot more this year. They're going to play a lot of 21 personnel, which is 2 running backs, because they do still have CJ Ham, their fullback, on their roster. They're going to play a lot again. Hell yeah. Runs, just hole plugging fullbacks. Gotta love it. I'm all for it. They're going to play a lot of 12 personnel, which is 2 tight ends, TJ Hawkinson, bring in that extra blocker. And who knows? Maybe they're going to play 22 personnel, 2 running backs, 2 tight ends. And just had Justin Jefferson on the field because, frankly, he's enough. But I don't foresee the Vikings being weirdos like the Falcons or like the Baker Mayfield Browns and like just living in 12 personnel. The median for 11 personnel for the NFL is over 50%. So he's still going to have plenty of opportunities. I'm talking 400, 500, 600 snaps. So don't worry about his opportunity. Frankly, this guy is my offensive rookie of the year candidate. I like him better than any of them. I think he's going to be awesome. He's going to get single coverage all over the field because we all know there's going to be cloud coverage on Justin Jefferson. And he is going to be a steal in your drafts and at least your redrafts. And I would most certainly be playing him on my dynasty squads and leaving him on my active roster because he's going to be a guy you can plug into your flex spot week in and week out.
My highest exposure of anybody is Jordan Addison right now.
Love it.
I don't know what that means, but Bill, I gave you the Lions to talk about, even though as a Packer fan, I hate myself a little bit because they are my favorite group of rookies. So talk to me about, there's so many. So I'm going to let you take it.
Okay, let's start with the obvious. Jamal Gibbs, a guy that I really like coming out. I had him RB2, but I had him closer to Bijan Robinson than I think most people did. Not seen too much from him in pre-season. We see a little bit of action in pre-season week 1. But the camp reports are good. You know, it's sort of as advertised from the reports we're getting from Lions training camp or got from Lions training camp. My hope for him is that they use him more than just the third down back, more than just the pass catching back. You know, it's all well and good to get excited with Jamal Gibbs and the Lions. I did when they took him 12 overall. I was like, this is fantastic. They're going to utilize him, but they've had a Jamal Gibbs type player in DeAndre Swift, and they didn't utilize him correctly, from my point of view. They've now got David Montgomery, and is that going to stop them from utilizing Jamal Gibbs how we would like? You'd like to think no, but we've seen them do it before. We've seen them do it in the past. I hope the fact that they took him with a 12th overall pick will stop them from just relying on him in clear passing downs and on third down, but we need to see it before we get too excited. I still love the talent. I still think I mean, to be honest, I think he's the reason that Bryce Young went first overall. He made Bryce Young's life so easy at Alabama. And I think he can do the same for Jared Goff. I think he's going to be a fantastic running back. I just want to see him given the opportunity. So fingers crossed that Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson use him correctly.
So
one thing,
Tyler, you go.
All over. One thing I want to add is I did hear on something today that, I mean, the Lions are throwing around lofty names for this guy. I mean, their plans for him, they're talking about Alvin Kamara and freaking Jamal Charles.
Alvin Kamara is who he reminded me of. I know we weren't allowed to say that on Twitter because it was the obvious one. Well, sometimes the obvious one's the right one. The dude reminds me of Alvin Kamara. I think he reminded everyone of Alvin Kamara. If they use him like that, absolute winner. Absolute winner. But I need to see it before I believe it.
So do I. Let's see. I think he might clear 70 receptions this year.
I've got a lot of Jamal Gibbs, so fingers crossed.
Definitely.
I mean, next we got Sam Laporta. Like I said earlier, he's not shown, anything during the preseason, but the camp reports have been good. I just worry about that boom or bust potential. We might get some weeks where he's scoring you 15 to 20 points, and we're going to get some weeks where he scores you 3 or 4 points. I think that's kind of just the wave you're going to have to ride with a Lions tight end. But yeah, Stacey said you had a couple of questions regarding Sam Laporta. Let's hear them.
Oh yeah. Okay. So one is, with Jameson Williams being out for 6 games with his gambling issues, do you think that Laporta is going to be that number 2 target behind Sun God, or do you think it's going to be Gibbs?
Gibbs.
I think it's Gibbs.
Yeah, Gibbs. Okay. I think it's going to be Gibbs. Laporta, for as much as I liked him coming out, and obviously with Jameson Williams, not being able to control his gambling habit, he's still a rookie tight end, and I think it's smart to sort of limit and taper our expectations, especially for a guy that was taken outside of the first round. I like him. I liked him coming out, but I just think we might want to just push the brakes a little bit on what to expect from him. We're expecting first 6 weeks an NFL player. Mm-hmm. Is he going to come in and be a top two passing game option for an offense that's pretty shit hot? I'm gonna take the no on that. I think there's a guy I want to talk about later that I think might play that Jameson Williams role a little bit more than Sam Laporta.
Ooh, well, we have a really great clip of Sam Laporta, and I wanted to include it in here because I think there's 2 different catches here. This first one just gives me a lady boner with this spin move here. I mean, my gosh, look at that. I mean, if you're watching on the YouTube, please make sure to go look at this clip. It's just, I mean, come on,
the YouTube. That's like my nan.
It is the YouTube. Does that not give you guys tingles? Look at that. Ooh, oh my goodness.
That spin move on thin air was brilliant. I'll give it to him.
Look at that. Come on. Jahmyr Gibbs.
I mean, you're preaching to the choir. I really like Sam Laporta coming out. I think he was my tight end 1, if we remember rightly, for fantasy football. That was, of course, before Dalton Kincaid went to my Buffalo Bills. But yeah, I like Sam Laporta, and I'm expecting good things, just maybe not great things coming out.
Oh wait, I have one question.
Yeah, go. Let's go.
Okay. my hand up. Okay. Out of Laporta and Kincaid, since you mentioned him, who do you think has the better year?
Go Bills. Dalton Kincaid.
Oh, homer pick.
That's the offensive rookie of the year right there. The
What?
Bills are going to be at 12 a lot. Dalton Kincaid's not going to come off the field, I'm telling you. He's
Do you
not
know
gonna come off
what
the
he's
field.
going to have to do to be the offensive rookie of the year?
And he's going to do it. Watch it.
Guys, we're spoiling next week. Next week we're doing awards. We're doing an award show. So I feel like there's going to be some argument here, and I like it. So we're gonna put that in the parking lot. And is there anybody else in Detroit that you want to talk about, Bill?
Well, there's Hendon Hooker, but IR, PUP, no one cares. So we'll just move off Hendon Hooker real quick. Anton Green, we've all seen that touchdown reception against the Carolina Panthers. All I'm going to say for anyone getting excited is you have got until Jameson Williams comes off suspension to keep your fingers crossed that he does something in an NFL regular season game so you can trade him for anything. Okay, it's who was the wide receiver? Was it Travis Fulgham?
But Fulham.
Yeah.
That dude. He's this dude. Just you want to hope that against the Chiefs he does something so you can bring that up, bring the touchdown against the Panthers up, trade him for a third and feel real good about it.
Well, we've got two more teams left in the North to talk about, and we're going to save the best for last. Talk about the Packers last, and we're going to do Go Bears. Or ew, no, I'm not allowed to say that. You're down, Tyler. That is all you.
Hey, what was that say? So what's
I think
their
you
try?
have to say bear down. Is that what they say? I don't know.
Packers fans just say Bears
Unfamiliar.
down and go Bears.
Unfamiliar.
All right. 36 minutes and 40
I mean,
seconds.
we own them,
All right.
so they're like our employees, really. But
I just timestamped it, so we're good.
gross.
All right. So, actually, I'm going to cover the second guy first for the Bears. Tyler Scott, wide receiver out of Cincinnati. Not a lot going on in camp for him. He's been returning kicks. He's looked good there. I mean, he's fast. All right. I think at the very start of camp, he had one of those Twitter highlights where Justin Fields just threw a bomb and he caught a deep ball, which he's a talented receiver. Don't get me wrong. He's worth stashing, but he's just not going to do anything major this year. I mean, DJ Moore might push for a 40% target share in this offense. And I'm not exaggerating. And right now, Tyler Scott's listed as a backup to Chase Claypool, he's been inconsistent at best. But when a team trades the 32nd overall pick for a wide receiver mid-season the year before, they're going to try to shoehorn that guy in there and make him productive. So not a lot of prospects for Tyler Scott this year, but barring injury. But I still do like him. He's certainly worth throwing on your taxi and seeing what happens. Now, the next guy where everyone wants to talk about him, just how great he is and how he is the second coming of Walter Payton and might possibly be Jesus Christ himself. But Roshan Johnson, he's looked good this preseason. I don't want to take that away from him.
Lucky running back in the draft.
His running has been really strong. He showed good vision. He's been catching the ball well in camp. As you can see in these clips, all of his runs against the Indianapolis Colts, he's hitting holes without hesitation, putting his shoulder down, just like we knew he could. We knew Roshan Johnson was a good running back. And the other big thing he's been doing, he's been contributing on special teams, which Deontay Foreman has not. So I think he pretty quickly overtakes Deontay Foreman as the RB2 on this roster and begins to push for Khalil Herbert for the RB1. I think we still have to remember Khalil Herbert's a very explosive running back, and Roshan's a lot of things. He's a really good running back. He's not quite explosive. So we will see what happens with this. I'm a little concerned that Roshan and Khalil Herbert just end up cannibalizing each other in an offense with Justin Fields being the running back and neither one of them really being super helpful for fantasy. But regardless of this, Roschon Johnson is a must roster guy. If I was trading for him, I mean, I don't think there's any way anyone's giving him up for a second, but maybe a 2 and a 3, you can see what happens there. I like him. Khalil Herbert is in a contract year this year, and the Bears have been raving about Roschon Johnson. So maybe not this year, but it's coming. So it's certainly coming.
All right. So it's time for the Packers. In addition to everything Bill's, yay, Packers, go, go. I know you guys are so excited. In addition to everything Bill said about Jaden Reed earlier, he played, like you said, in all 3 preseason games, 4 receptions, 46 yards, and a touchdown. Right now, he's in line to start the year as Love's third option at wide receiver in the slot there behind Doubs and Watson. Doubs did miss the last preseason game with a hamstring. Not really sure how long that he's going to be out or if he's even going to miss time at all. But just something to kind of monitor, especially if you have Reed or if you have Doubs too. This is his first touchdown right here. See a pass from Love. There he goes into the end zone. Look at that. Just fighting to get in there.
Beautiful.
Love it. Doing a little dance there at the end. And if we keep it on there, we are going to get to see our baby's first Lambeau leap. And it's something to behold. It'll get there in a second. He's very excited. There he is in the background. Packer Nation loves him. Look at that. We're going to see lots of that this year, right, Bill?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
We're gonna see a lot of that. My only worry is what if this offense is not that great, right? What if Love is not everything that the Packers are hoping him to be to replace Aaron Rodgers. We've got a pretty high standard for our quarterbacks. So I feel like this offense may take a little bit of a dip this year. So that's my only concern, is that it may not be quite as productive as it has been in the past. So that would be my only worry there, is that, touchdowns go down just a tiny bit. We have got him in our Fantasy and Frames consensus dynasty rankings that you guys can find on our website, fantasyandframes.com. Go over there, check that out. He is the 6th overall rookie wide receiver, behind one, my beloved Marvin Mims. Guys, so go check that out if you are looking for some rankings for your drafts coming up this weekend or in this week. Moving on to I'm going to actually talk about these guys together because they kind of go hand in hand a little bit here. That's going to be one Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft, okay? And Luke Musgrave, as we've got a clip of a really nice little catch that he made versus New England. He is our Miles Teller doppelganger. If you haven't seen a picture of this guy, he could be Rooster's little brother, all right? He did have a knee injury his last year in college that let him only play 2 games. Seems to be over that. Doesn't seem to be like that's an issue anymore. Was a multi-sport athlete, if you guys remember, right? Playing lacrosse and skiing. Here's the clip of him in that game against New England. There is Jordan Love. We've got Luke Musgrave getting up off the ground. He's a big man. Nice big target for our Jordan Love. Keith Fleming is on the show. What's up, Keith? Thank you very much. Yep, see, there he goes. It takes a lot of guys to bring him down because he is quite large. Guys, right now, he's obviously the starter. He's our tight end 1 on this offense. Kraft really isn't going to be that much of competition for him. Probably only really going to be used more so in the blocking game. Josiah DeGuara is also there. He's listed 3rd on the depth chart. Again, don't really see him as much competition for our boy Luke over here. According to a chart that I saw that was tweeted out by PFF showing Green Bay snap counts from the last preseason game, and Musgrave had 27, which was 2nd most on the team total. He ran 16 routes. Kraft had 4, ran 2 routes, 0 targets. So just to kind of put that in perspective, like I said, like Kraft's not really going to be a threat to Musgrave's production at all. Lots of steam coming from Mr. Musgrave. He was shooting up the boards as a 2nd backup tight end over the weekend at some drafts that I was at. Saw him go as high as the 13th round out of 20 in a redraft. I personally took him as a backup tight end round 16 out of 20 in one. Really, really excited about what he's going to bring to the table there in Green Bay. Just a little bit more on Tucker Kraft, pretty quiet camp, not a ton of news available on him. Really couldn't find too much as far as like clips or anything like that to kind of show everybody. There was some speculation on Twitter that he may not make the 53-man roster, but he is still there. And so, like I said, it looks like they're going to really use him more of a blocker, at least for now, until he gets a little bit better in the passing game. But anyway, Musgrave is your guy if you're looking for a tight end in Green Bay.
Yeah,
So.
I want to throw some emphasis on that.
Emphasis.
Emphasis.
Yeah, I like it. How do they say that? What's the British way to say that, Bill?
Emphasis.
Emphasis, yeah.
I mean, emphasis is the correct way to say it.
Of course,
I know. I know you're messing. I was hoping that it would have some like funny pronunciation, kind of like how we say aluminum, and you guys say like, what is it, aluminium?
Aluminium.
Yeah, but it's spelled that way. We discussed that a couple months ago. Bill said, "Look up how it's spelled," and we looked it up, and we said, "Oh shit."
We know we're the not the better educated out of the two.
We created it. You butchered it.
Yeah.
Exactly. We're really good at that. Luke Musgrave's going to be on the field for every flipping snap for this team. He is every. They just lost the guy they were planning on being their blocking tight end for the season. He's playing every snap.
Yeah.
So he is going to have all the opportunity in the world to get out there and probably produce the most out of any rookie tight end this year if he can stay on the field.
Yeah, except for Dalton Kincaid. Yeah.
No. Kincaid's going to be good. I'm excited for him.
We're going to have to revisit this next year at the beginning of next year and go back and revisit all of our rookie tight ends and see how they did. And then we're going to be shocked to learn that it was like Darnell Washington that had the most production, right? No, nobody's buying that.
No, sorry, Steve.
I can't get out. I can't quit him. Guys, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us tonight and wrapping up this rookie series. Guys, next week, I'm going to be coming to you from Las Vegas. I'm going to be over at the FFPC drafting, and we are going to be talking about some very, very long shot rookies, and we're going to be doing our award show. So make sure to tune in for that. Guys, you can follow all of us on Twitter. You can follow Bill at Bill_Mustafa. You can follow Tyler at FF_Tyler_Heil. And you can follow me at Stacy_Perez83. Make sure that you have hit that subscribe button for our Fantasy in Frame show. Make sure you're getting all those notifications about when we are going to be on. And make sure to tune in next week. We will see you then.